Hello, Lyric Armstrong, your real estate agent and advocate. So today we're going to have two short cases with Judge Middleton. One, we're going to learn a little bit about being on the lease. Both of them kind of echo the concerns that each other will have in two different viewpoints. Being on a lease for a property that you're not necessarily occupying can cause you issues, especially when you, I don't know, want to go get something else to rent or buy a house because you get a judgment against you for eviction and you're not the one who's staying there. So there's other ways to leave the property. You don't just leave because you're done, you're fed up, you move out. If your name is on the lease, you definitely need to negotiate with the landlord and get your name off. We'll work on getting your name off because your responsibilities for the place do not leave just because you left. You still have liability if you are a tenant that is named on the lease. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. We're also going to learn about just cautioning everyone, please do not use court as a weapon against another person. It is used to intervene under extreme and extenuating circumstances. And that's civil concerns as well as criminal. It's not meant for you to say, okay, well, I'm going to get a protective order or restraining order against someone so that they can move out and no longer be a headache in my life. It usually doesn't work out that way because there's these other headaches that come about. So if you want them off the lease and you want to have separate domiciles, separate homes, whether that's an apartment or an actual house, whatever the situation, make sure you're doing it by a legitimate way. Go to the landlord, see about separating the lease, having them move out, get a new lease within your new name. Whatever the landlord is willing to work with you on, negotiate it. And you can use the services of an agent to help you with that. You can also use the services of an attorney, of course, to help you with that so that you can help to preserve your interests as well as protect yourself so that if you get down the line, you don't find yourself in Judge Middleton's court. All right, so I want to thank you all for being so gracious. I appreciate you. I've seen you. You have been doing wonderful things on YouTube. Keep up the good work. We are handling YouTube things. This is a moment for housekeeping, a little ancillary stuff, a little sweeping, a little wipe down, nothing too major. I just need you to click around. Like, share, and subscribe, okay? Help someone else learn. If you've seen this or you know this already, that's good, but let's help someone else within your sphere because everyone does not know everything. We can always learn something new. All right, Judge Middleton, we're ready. We're ready for court. We want to go to court, Judge, especially when we're not a litigant. We want to be in your courtroom just as spectators, not as litigants. All right, we're going through our rights. Ice water, so good. Ice, baby. Oh, sorry again. Okay, you can't even hear. See, you gotta tell me. Say, I can't hear. He just went through the right.
Miss Purcell, do you say Purcell or Purcell? Because
Purcell.
Now we're calling
some people here in St. Joe County say Purcell, some say Purcell for the same spelling. All right, I don't want to mispronounce it. This is a demand for non-payment of rent, and I haven't gotten my stuff from the clerk yet, but here's Lance's email.
Okay, you can be evicted for more than one reason, but this right here is non-payment of rent. A very good reason for eviction, very common reason.
According to what your landlord says, you owe April's rent, May's rent, June's rent, and some late fees for a total of $2,725. Is that still correct, Lance?
It is, Your Honor.
2725 plus court costs of 189.49, which is a total of 2,009.09.49. Here comes the paperwork. All right, thank you. Lance does a good job on these, and I appreciate it. Ms. Purcell, what's your thought here? Do you plan to try to pay or move?
Yeah, I have actually just spoke with Josie yesterday because I've been going through child custody issues. So I actually haven't resided at that address for about 4 months now. There's an occupant who's on my lease who is residing there. So I did speak with Josie yesterday, and she said that she was going to give us until the 1st to get everything out of there, and they would be.
Okay. Someone else is still occupying the property. Someone that was listed as an occupant on the lease is occupying the property, has possession. You do not. But as you can see, she still has liability, even though she's moved out. The other occupant is there. The other occupant has not paid rent for 3-4 months. She hasn't lived there, but she's still in court today. This is why you got to get your name off the lease. If you're not going to occupy the property and you don't want to maintain responsibility and liabilities, get your name off the
dropping
lease.
the eviction.
All right. So who is in there?
Cornelius Murray. He is my children's father.
Is he on the lease?
As an occupant, yes.
Lance, can you confirm that? We have a consent?
Here's the situation with Mr. Murray. He is not listed on the lease on the first page as a tenant. However, I need to inform the court, he did sign the lease on the signature page. So
well, the problem is we could do a consent as to Ashley. So Josie, did you confirm you're giving them till July 1st to move?
I did. Cornelius did contact me via text message yesterday and informed me that if I could give him until the 1st, that he could be completely moved out.
I want you to also think of this concept. We speak about this a lot. When you move out of the property, if you leave stuff behind, you still live there. You still you're still occupying the property. So to occupy the property does not mean it's you as the individual living, breathing human being. It can also just mean your stuff, right? So she's moved out. She thinks she's taken all of her stuff, I guess, but she hasn't taken all of her people because she left him behind and she left her name on the lease, and now she's in eviction court. So learn from her mistake. She's doing good about being proactive and responsive. She's talked to Josie. I believe Josie is probably the property manager, if not the owner. And I see Lance is the attorney for the landlord. So that's the kind of appearance I see. No one did appearances, so we didn't miss it. They didn't identify themselves. Josie didn't identify herself. I think everyone is known to Judge Middleton that he just may not remember to ask for appearances.
All right. Lance, you have any objection if I show this as a consent?
no,
Where the defendants agree to move by July 1st, then the numbers won't change. So through June, we owe $2,725 and $189.49 in costs for a total of $2,009.09.49. Defendant agrees to move by July 1. The appeal date is still 6/26. No money judgment is entered at this time. Partial payment will not prevent the writ of eviction.
Oh, she pulled over. Now I will say in Zoom, when I'm on Zoom on my phone, I really do like having it in the car because I can make it even louder, because there is a time, and it's just, the way the mics work, we have more than one person, things sound muffled or they're a little low, so that can be good. But she looks like she's driving. There's no driving in court. Judge Middleton, Judge Manning and Judge Brian are like yelling in my ear right now. There's no driving in court. Sit up straight, stationary and upright. Not in the bed, Miss Stewart. Not in the car, Miss Purcell. Yeah, my ears are ringing.
All right, he has until, and you did put in all other occupants. July 1st to move. July 1st is a Saturday. So as a practical matter, probably won't enter till July 5th at the earliest, but I'll show it as a consent with that amount. And
I believe he means enter on the court document.
Ms. Purcell, do they have your current address?
I am not sure if they do not. I do know that I contacted Josie and asked her if they would be able to email me the papers for the court hearing today because I didn't even have that. My attorney actually had to
no,
get a copy of
yes,
the
no.
court hearing for me today.
I'm gonna put you in a breakout room with Josie, and I want you to give her your current address and contact information, and then you're
Okay.
free.
Thank you.
All right, I hope you can do this from your phone, but when I set it up, click the button that says join.
Okay.
Judge, may I intervene at this moment? I'm not sure what's going on because I just entered.
All right, are you
That's Cornelius.
Cornelius Murray?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't realize you were here. Do you agree to move by July 1st?
yes,
All right, I'll put, now, Ashley hit join. Mr. Murray?
yeah,
When you do move, you need to turn in the keys and give your forwarding address in writing. So at this point, they're not asking for any money. They're asking you to move. After you do move, they could seek a money judgment, but we aren't at that point yet. So as long as you're out by July 1st, that's a Saturday, turn in the keys and give your forwarding address in writing, and then you're good to go. I will send a copy of this order to the Apartment D6 address. Do you have any questions?
no, sir, not at this time.
All right, as long as you're out by July 1st, you're good. All right, thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were here. Just came in as a phone number.
Right, I'm sorry. about that.
All right, Ms. Purcell, you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. Everybody, good luck. Let me remove Mr. Murray.
Now, here we are.
All right, Ms. Stewart, let's talk to you.
Okay.
It's 9:11. We're early, but that's all right. This is, guess what? LLC, which is Colonial Crest Apartments versus Robert Stewart and Tritisha Stewart. I can never spell your name, but I can say it because you told me how to say it.
Yes.
Tritisha.
No, it's
What it?
Titisha.
Tartisha. All right.
You're
Well, I don't still don't have.
He's so close. Tartisha is Tatisha, like Tatanisha. Tatiana is Tatisha. But Miss Stewart, we can all get that one right.
Have it right.
No, it's
All
okay.
right. This is also a non-payment of rent case. Let's see what
Yes.
Mr. Thorne sent me.
Wait, I wonder if Josie's still hanging around. Is it the same complex?
While we're waiting, we learned that you have a personal protection order and Robert is out of the premises.
Yes, that's why we're here now, is because of him.
All right.
He attacked
Well,
me.
let me ask this. Do you know where he?
Now, this might be a little trigger warning for some. So if you have DV or, I mean, they don't get into the details, I don't think. She might, she might give some details. So just anyway, just trigger warning, may not be a video for you. But I do not, there's got to be a point in time when we say it's not the other person. We're not here just because of him. It's not just him. There are some choices that we've done to accept or to overlook or to allow to get to this point. So let's learn to have our own control because we can make decisions. Okay, young ladies and young men, if you find yourself in an abusive situation, you can do what you need to do. Don't beat yourself up. Don't ascribe to the negativity that your abuser may be saying to you in terms of control. Understand your word. Affirm your word. Continuously speak life into your life. Okay? Be positive. Look for positive sayings. Remind yourself of the good things that are good about you, what you have done, what you have accomplished. And remember, you can build yourself up to get out from under someone else's control. You can do it each and every day. Continuously work towards it. And don't worry about what anyone else has to say or think about you because they don't have a heaven or hell to send you to, okay? All right.
He is?
He's in Minnesota. He went back to Minnesota. All I know is he worked in the Mall of America.
All right. Well, according to your landlord, you'll March's rent partial, $70. April's rent, May's rent, June's rent, and late rents for a total of $2,770. Miss Moreno, is that still accurate?
Yes.
I thought we were paid up until April, because when we got the thing, it said April was clear. I mean, March was clear.
Well, there's $70 left of
Right, I
March.
understand. I'm not denying that they owe them, we owe the money, but he attacked me because he didn't want to pay the rent anymore. That's why the restraining order came in place. He tried to kill me because I'm the one that wanted to pay the bills. He had a history of up and abandoning me and my daughter, leaving us with nothing. I was the one always going to Josie trying to.
Well, just a minute.
I can depart. Okay.
I'm sorry about all that, but you still.
I want you to take into realization, this is how we're looking right now. We have a whole bunch of facts that don't connect, they don't align, they're not in succession to what we need to know. And they are unfortunate set of facts. It does help to characterize, sorry guys, it does help to characterize what she's going through. And clearly she needs to speak on it because she has to get it out. It's seemingly just bottled up in her. So emotionally, we understand that this is a good lethargic way of processing, is being able to get things off your chest. However, for the sense of court, it's not necessary for the facts of the case. So we're on Zoom, and now we have Zoom court that's live streaming, and the world knows Miss Stewart's business, right? And there might be some, nefarious individuals in her life that would like to use this against her. Let's not be a part of that. Let's not attack her or, do anything socially that would be harmful. And hopefully there's no one that's trying to do that. But nonetheless, it's not a set of facts that's necessary for the case. So when you're before the court, try to stick to the facts that's necessary for whatever case you're speaking on.
You have an obligation to pay your rent.
I
So
know I was
you-
getting to that.
Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
at work, so I just had surgery in May. So that I could go back to work because I got tired of him putting me and my daughter in that situation. I'm still on medical leave right now. I haven't been able to return back to work because, like I said, I just had surgery May 22nd.
I don't know what surgery to go back to work means, but I'm glad she's making her steps for her independence and her financial independence. That's a good step.
And that's why he attacked me, because he knew once I got back on my feet that we wasn't going to need him anymore.
Well, you have this big problem of a bunch of unpaid rent.
Yeah.
Now, the law requires that. Have you contacted Keystone or DHS?
I'm working with DHS now. I had put in my SER. I still waiting to hear from them. I got applied for cash. They're still doing my case. It's like I've been getting run around with my caseworker, and I told her.
Right, who is your caseworker?
Her name is hold on. Ouch, let me grab her name so I don't say it wrong. Kim Shepherd.
All right, well, the law requires that I adjourn this for 7 days, which would take us to next.
I feel so bad for her. Maybe I said this or maybe I didn't, but I know I thought about it. I was very irritated with her lying down because I have Judge Manning and Judge Bryan in my mind. So I'm like, no, this is not appropriate for court. I know you must sit up straight. But she did have surgery. So it may be necessary for her to lie down due to the surgery, because I don't understand what the surgery was. She obviously doesn't need to, or has not presented the reasoning for the surgery as to what has been, worked upon. But I can hear her grunting. It's so much pain for her to move around. So I do feel sorry. Feel bad for her. She's like, I'm trying to get this for you, Your Honor.
Friday, June 23rd. June 23rd. Lance, are you available at 10:30 or 10:15?
Yes.
Oh, and so one of the things I had stated was not to use a protective order as a means of weapon. It's not a weapon against the other person. It's a means of protection. So if the other person is not, in fact, a threat to you, or if it's so simple as moving apart from that person, then take upon those measures before you start, intervening and using the courts. Because if the court comes down to a case where they see a long history of you weaponizing them, or showing that there is potential for you perjuring yourself and lying to the court, they will begin to stop believing you. Because just like the boy who cried wolf, after a while, when the wolf did show up, no one else did either. So let's not abuse the system. So because she got the protection order, the gentleman has now moved away. And she's in a situation where she's developing her independence, which is always great to have the ability to work and to provide for yourself. And now she is fighting, she's getting ready to go through an eviction, and her position is it's all his fault. that's a hard pill for me to swallow, and I'm probably being a little judgmental, so I apologize on that regard. But it's kind of like, what did you expect the protective order to do? It was going to kick him out some kind of way. Like it is to say you have to be away from this address. It was she'll say you cannot be around this woman and this child, or whoever is listed in the order. So hopefully it was something that was necessary, that she needed to get the protective order and not just using it to get him out of the house. But obviously he wasn't going to be there to pay the bills.
Let's see if you're here. Otherwise, I don't see you.
So
I'm
I
not.
would say,
Phone call, baby.
But I am
why
Melissa.
not get
All right,
services?
we may move some of these others
Make
to
sure
June
to get
23rd.
services, because services care about the children a lot and emergency. So hopefully they'll be able to take whatever they get from Judge Middleton today and go to a form of intervening service. They can maybe help her on an emergency basis, just a temporary basis, to keep her in her domicile and not get evicted if they pay their
At 10:15. Ms. Stewart, you did figure out how to log in, so we'll try this again. Now, let me tell you what's coming up. They allege that you owe $2,770 in rent, $210 in costs, so you owe $2,980. When we get to July, there will be another $850 worth of rent due. So you're going to owe almost $3,000. And you have to pay that or you're subject to being evicted. Irrespective of all the terrible things that are going on in your life, they want their money or they want you to move so they can rent it to somebody else. So the law says I have to adjourn this for 7 days, which would take us to the 23rd of June. 10 days from that day would be July 3rd. And you would have to move out by July 3rd unless you pay the rent, unless you can work something out with a landlord or your caseworker or someone else. But it's going to be $29.80 plus $850 plus another late fee. So it's going to be like $3,900 that's going to be due, which is close to $4,000 to pay your rent through June. So if you do move, you need to turn in your keys and give your forwarding address in writing within 4 days of your moving. Legal aid is here on the feed. I gave you that information on how to contact legal aid. And so you may attempt that, but this is simply a matter of paying the rent or not. So hopefully this will light a fire under DHS.
Hopefully, because I've been getting run around since April, and me and my daughter don't have no money, no nothing, nowhere to go. And I've been stressing about this, and that's why it's taking so long for me to heal from my surgery, because I love being here. I do want to stay here, and I do want to pay them, but he put me in his bad predicament for no reason at all, because I wanted to do right.
All right, well, I don't have an answer to that. They can agree to work with you. Hopefully there's going to be the COVID emergency housing money all ran out. We had for 2 years, COVID CERA assistance.
That is so sad. I feel for Miss Stewart. It's a very hard position. Now, realizing eviction is not something that just comes one day. Like, this is a process. It's stressful. It's stressful on her, clearly. She's very emotional. It's obviously so. Anyone in that position would be. So she's in court. I understand she's at home, laying in her bed. I understand that. But nonetheless, she's in court. She's on Zoom. And I take a little exception to the child being in court. And I have a lot of feelings about that, a lot of opinion about that on different sides of the argument. So we don't need to get into that. That's just a lot of thought. But in court physically, there are a lot of courts that won't allow children to come into the courtroom. And it's because of situations such as this. The content for what's going on can be quite stressful and emotional. And the litigant, who in this situation is the tenant, is in the process of something that is stressful, such as eviction. Kids need to be able to be kids. They need to be able to have the fun, carefree life. We as adults learn how to process through our emotions, how to get beyond our hurdles, to go through the trial and the tribulation. And yes, we have emotional outbursts, and yes, we have emotional responses. However, children don't get the ability to learn how to get over it. Sometimes, depending on your adulthood, you can get over it quicker. But I believe for children, it's something that sits in them and it festers. And then as they become an adult, it kind of weighs heavily to sit and absorb a lot of this stress, because this baby knows that this is her mommy and her mommy is crying. And how many times has this baby encountered her mother crying? We don't know. And it's a very sad position to put the children in. So I would hope that if you are getting on Zoom to go to court, try to have the children separate, maybe at the neighbor's house, maybe the grandmother can watch them in one room and you go in another, just so that they're not involved in it, because it's very stressful for you even to see your child see you in this position. So it helps everyone involved to try and keep the children separate from the court when possible. That's me. There are courtrooms that won't allow it at all. But this is another reason why I say I believe she could probably get children's services or some type of services that will allow to pay the rent because she has a child and this is an emergency situation. Now, we're going to take a minute. I really want somebody to tell me something, and then maybe I don't want y'all to tell me nothing. because the internet has its way of being very cruel and extreme and beyond. So maybe I don't want everybody's opinion, but I'm going to elicit it nonetheless. And then I'll tell myself better later, right? I take a great pause because we have opinions on how this nation should be ran. And in this instance for Ms. Stewart, social services can be quite beneficial, potentially so. They could help her get the last 3 months of whatever her arrears are, get those caught up. So, because she's going back to work, she's been in surgery, she's had a traumatic experience. Now she's almost ready to work in the workforce and build up to providing for herself and her child. So social services could be a nice, helpful moment in this particular emergency. When we were going through the panorama, everybody began to understand what it meant to need help and assistance and turn to the government to assist them in a financial way. Everybody did, whether they had been on any type of welfare before or not. They at that time had the experience of understanding that every now and again you just might need a helping hand. So hopefully in your community you are lending that helping hand to someone else, because when you need it, you want to be able to have people in your sphere that can be helpful. But now we have this fight going on, this difference of opinion about how social services somehow they're so expensive that we've got to take them off of our budget and we've got to reform things. Okay, all right. So if you want to lessen the taxes and you want to attack social services as one of the line items to make the nation less expensive, okay, if that works. But explain to me, why then do you make people or women have children they don't want to have? I don't see us making sense 30 years, 40, 50 years from now, when the population grows in such an exponential rate compared to, times past, if in fact things continue to go the way they are in certain states, you may have more scenarios of Madam Stewart, where you need social services to come in and to be assisting to this particular family. And now you're going to build other families in this scenario. To me, it doesn't make sense. So maybe it makes sense to you, and you can put it in the comments and let me know. Oh, I know I'm setting myself up for something. Either I'm going to get enlightened or aggravated, one or the other. But it's okay. We're here to learn, so we might as well all have a voice to help each other learn. So go right ahead, do what you got to do. Be respectful, though. No name calling of people, and understand, like I said, remind yourself, 2020, 2021 was a very harsh time for all. Now, I mean, some of the other complaints were kind of funny, like, oh, I'm having the end of the world experience because I can't go to my favorite restaurant. Okay, madam. Okay. We heard a lot of great, massive complaints that just weren't real complaints, in my opinion. However, that was their perspective. So we do know that there comes a time when we may all just need a helping hand, and it shouldn't be a horrible thing to do, to help another person, help your community as a whole. I don't see the problem, but you let me know how that works out. I don't know.
And it helped people like you stay in their homes. Well, the money ran out, so it's back to the old days of pay the rent or move.
Old
And
days. Good
you're in a
old
tough spot.
days.
I've known you for some years now. I'm glad that you're not in the abusive situation, but you would have had some money to help pay this. Anyway, we're going to address.
I tell you, Judge Middleton knows his township. And so Madam Stewart has been before him before. He stated that in the beginning. He knew her name to some extent, he remembered. He wasn't quite clear on the pronunciation, but he felt like he had it. And it seems that he has some type of standing relationship with her, maybe a long one or whatever, but definitely a previous one within his DV cases. And it's a sad thing. So, but one thing I do know is sometimes it gets harder and much more stressful before the blessing comes. So if you can just stay and hang on for a little while longer, the skies open up and you start to see yourself in a better place than you do right in a moment of stress such as this. So hopefully this is her breakthrough coming through. And though the judge says, I know you from your DV cases, and I'm sorry that you've had those experiences, and I'm grateful that you're not in that anymore. That speaks a volume to me that, makes me say, okay, looks like the protective order was necessary. So I'm grateful you're not in that situation anymore. Now we're in a whole different court and I can't consider it. I can't have empathy on you. I have to continue to move the case along in accordance to the law. But maybe you can work something out with Josie.
Next Friday at 10:15. It's okay if you log in early again. Share this information with your caseworker, and I'll see you next Friday morning. Okay?
With Ms. Stewart in a breakout.
All right, I'm going to put you in with legal aid, and you can talk to them privately. I'm not sure what you can make. It is what it is, but let's try a breakout room and see what we got.
From the DHS.
Yeah, all right. Let me close that.
Oh, stop crying. Oh, the baby. Oh, the baby. Oh, it's so, oh gosh, it's gonna make me cry. There's so many emotions. Our children can give us strength. So I'm sure that baby girl is giving her a lot of strength. And is giving her a lot of inspiration to continue to fight for the well-being of the family. So much well wishes to Miss Stewart. It's sad. It's sad. It's so sad. But we take these opportunities to kind of understand that there go I, but by the grace of God. There go I, but one paycheck different. There are those of us who are living paycheck to paycheck. There are those of us who are not in position to, just pay it. Like Madam Purcell, she doesn't seem to be in the position to just pay the last 3 months. It's like, wait, can we work something out? And it's life. Things do happen. We can survive them. So all the best wishes to Madam Stewart. It is, and kudos to Meg. So many kudos to Meg. We see her hang out with Judge Middleton like all the time, right? She's the legal aid, she's the attorney that's on the feed or possibly also in his courtroom, just there being able to give legal advice to a litigant who finds themselves without direction. And they can if they qualify, they can hire her or her office, and then she can represent them throughout the trial and do trial things and show herself as a litigation attorney. We will see her do that. Okay, we have a live coming up this Wednesday, and Meg is getting in there. She's at the podium, and we are having court. And Meg is in representation of one of the litigants. You get to see her put forth her objections. You get to see her bring forth witnesses and cross-examination. So we get to get a feel for her performance as a litigating attorney. So this will be awesome. So, you know, be there for the live stream, I think 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 East Coast time, okay? And, but I'm grateful that she said, you know what, Judge, can I get a breakout room with the litigant? And no one asked her, you know, Meg, do you have anything? She's not, like, can I get it? He goes like, wow, it's a mute issue. I don't know what you can go right ahead. And Meg says, well, I think I can might help with the DHS. So what you will find if you have yourself in this situation is that some of the services require a court order of eviction, or they need something that is from the court that gives them the definitive that you in fact are getting evicted, and not just, I don't know why they won't take the landlord's, you know, notice. Like if you get a notice of eviction, you're getting evicted. But whatever reason, I guess it's because they want the court to verify it. So we talked about this before. When the landlord is giving you notice of an eviction, this is them saying, okay, I want to proceed with this in a legal fashion. You owe this, or, you know, because of that, whatever the reason is. And then when you come to court in that first hearing, it's like the judge sees it and says, okay, he may ask a couple questions. Judge Middleton may ask you a couple questions, and then he moves the case to another hearing date. Well, in that beginning, he's verifying that in fact this is an evictable, you know, offense. Like, yes, whatever's going on, you should be evicted from it. So we'll go ahead and have our hearing on it. So it's like confirmation after the first hearing. The next hearing, which is 7 days later, is the, okay, so now that we've confirmed that you should be evicted and you owe this money, what are you doing? Are you getting out? Are you paying this money? Are you, you know, what are you going to do to cure this situation? And that's when the tenants, you know, say, oh, I can't get out by 10 days from now, or, you know, it's this, it's that, I tried this or that. And sometimes the tenants will say, I'm waiting on my SSI. And he's like, okay, well, if it comes in within the next 10 days, then you can pay it and then come back to court. Otherwise, 10 days from now, you have to be out. And that's when they get that 10-day notice, and they, or, you know, that 10-day time frame, they have to be out. And if they're not out, then the landlord comes and requests the writ of eviction. And on the 11th day, they have the sheriff serve the writ of eviction, which means you only have an hour or so to get out your house. And that's their process for eviction so far under Judge Middleton's court in Michigan. And it's probably throughout the state the same. It sounds like I think all Michigan judges kind of, you know, unfolded the same way. And I don't think there's any difference. It sounds like it's code relative to Michigan court, Michigan state law. So Miss Meg is saying, okay, let me see if I can help her get these services. If I can prove to them, you know, that we have a much more dire circumstance of emergency requests, not just the landlord has sent me a notice, the landlord sent me the bill and showed that I'm late, but in fact, the judge has confirmed that the facts are true, and then I will be evicted if we don't get resolution or get funds in. So hopefully that's what Meg was going to be able to do with Ms. Stewart. Definitely appreciate her trying. I hope you enjoyed today, learned something. Empathy, if nothing else. Share this video so others can learn a little bit about how keeping your name on the lease and not reporting the fact that you have moved out does not benefit you and can bite you in the butt, because if they go to evict, the court is going to put your name down. If your name is on the lease, they're going to evict you, and that's going to go on your record. Don't use TPOs or the court as a weapon against others if it's not necessary for protection. Try to mediate things as you possibly can. Look for services necessary if you find yourself in a situation, especially with young children, that you may become evicted. There are plenty of emergency services in the state of California. Looks like there's a few in the state of Michigan. And I'm sure some other states do have them. Not every state elects for social services. I understand that. And there's a reason. They decided that instead of having higher taxes to provide social services for their community, they won't have social services so they can keep their taxes lower. Okay, that might work. It's their choice. They voted for it. And now, as you vote to increase your community against maybe the mother's desire, I don't know. What are you going to do with all these extra children that may not be able to be cared for if you especially don't want to provide social services? So give me your commentary on that, help me to learn. Maybe I will learn something new. Be respectful, of course. All right. So Lyric Armstrong, your real estate agent and advocate. If you haven't done it already, like, share, subscribe. But as always, have a blessed one, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget about the live on Wednesday. We're going to Judge Middleton's court, and we're going to see Meg in action.